My name is Stephanie Erickson. I teach English Language Arts at Blanchester High School in rural Southwest Ohio. In my own classroom, I found that project-based learning using nonfiction storytelling is a good way to introduce Common Core into the curriculum. Other educators around the country are also bringing nonfiction storytelling into their classrooms to address Common Core standards. Many of them are using journalism, which can also foster the key 21st century skills of critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and creativity. It can also improve student engagement. Perhaps most important, it can help create informed citizens for the digital age.
The importance, I think, of journalism curriculum in an academic environment, whether middle or high school, is that you are helping train a media literate population, okay? Especially with the influx of social media and all these different sources, I think it's really important for kids to be able to understand how to sort all of this information out.
They're awash in media. It's a whole big bad universe of media. And if they're able to experience crafting a message and telling a story, they are much better able to look at other sources of information and tell what's quality and what's not, what's trustworthy and what's not. And they're better able to make big decisions that'll impact their lives and the rest of society.
Administrators at Hughes STEM High School in Cincinnati recently decided to bring journalism into the classroom through PBS NewsHour's Student Reporting Labs. This program provides training in both journalism and video production to support students taking the lead in creating their own original multimedia news reports.
The Student Reporting Labs really help with the journalism piece. They have students out front asking questions and thinking critically, working in groups to think through issues. It really helped to hone their skills, the soft skills that are needed to be really successful in the 21st century workplace. So students worked together designing a plan for implementation. They worked with timelines. They worked with really making sure that everyone was on board and understood how the project was supposed to go and who was responsible for each piece. Student Reporting Labs brought a new level of excitement around and about the work. They had to use new types of equipment. They had to think about it from the production aspect, from the design, the writing piece. So it presented a new challenge for students, and they were really much more engaged and much more excited. The reading, the writing that they had to do was all very focused on things that they wanted to talk about. So the student voice aspect was huge for our students, huge for our teachers, because it forced us to step back, to be more in a facilitation role, and have our students become the leaders of the conversation. We saw students who previously had been very shy, very quiet, really step up and manage and lead. So the student voice piece, the ownership of all of the work was really a powerful piece that was added into our community through this project.
I found myself much more facilitating and working in small groups with the students. I didn't feel like I needed to stand up and be the expert on everything. And I think it really helps support the Common Core concepts that it needs to be experiential learning. This is real life. Students are learning about deadlines, they're learning about teamwork, and they have to do self-monitoring, and they have to learn how to support their ideas with their peers in a professional manner. And that's hard to simulate in a classroom. But when you're doing something that's a real-world application, it makes it come alive for students. It makes it real for them. And that makes a difference in the level of effort that they put into their work. It was an awesome experience. It's the way school should be every day and not, just as a project.
Using a more traditional journalism model, students at Lakota East High School north of Cincinnati produce a nationally recognized monthly magazine called Spark. Their journalism teacher and advisor, Dean Hume, believes that in working for Spark, his students are learning skills that will benefit them far beyond the classroom.
Well, I think the fourth state mission is very important. I think it's the most important class a student can take. They are forced to go out in the community and talk about a major issue. It gives them a front row seat to what's happening in interviewing, showing that person's story fairly, presenting the large issue and then breaking the issue down into side chunks so that people realize there's more to it than just this one point. And the kids come out of that saying, wow, I learned so much more about how this works. And I learned about myself. I found out that I could talk to people that I didn't know. I found out that there are stories out there that I was ignoring. I found out all these interesting things that they're not going to get in a textbook. It's not bad to do in a textbook, but until they've experienced it, they're not going to understand how it impacts them. There's no question journalism students succeed. They have higher test scores, they get their first choice college admission selection more than anybody else. They have more scholarship money, and that's because they're critical thinkers already. They're thinking about real issues that impact people in the real world. So they're already prepared to go out and attack these issues and get to college. And also, they look at it from a much more broad perspective. So they're bouncing story ideas off each other all the time, and they're debating and all that. And plus, remember, the students are also editing them, so their own peers are helping them get to this point. And I think that is a good cooperative lesson to learn in the real world, whether you're an engineer or a lawyer or a journalist or a teacher or a business executive, whatever. I think there's absolutely not a zip substitute for what they're doing in here.
As these educators have found, using journalism as a focus can bring a new layer of learning and engagement to your classroom. We have created breakout modules that you can watch with your students to explore how journalism works in the 21st century. Learn about the art of the interview and hear from student journalists. If you don't already have a journalism program in place at your school, there are organizations willing to help you get started. To learn more, please check out our online resources for teachers so that you and your students can go beyond the front page.